it's making me think how, in some ways, amusing the Bitcoin rabbit hole is. It's like, how am I talking about the very specific governance techniques of Venice?
Yeah.
It's like, this is wild.
Yeah.
How did this happen? But it's somehow what I like about this kind of comparison that you make is it frames a historical period, like I said, that so it's the history books we talk about. This is a big deal.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, maybe Bitcoin's a big deal too. And two other articles I think of that were similar for me and in this experience. So Jesse Myers wrote, I can't remember the title exactly, but he was talking about the pioneers that moved west from the Mississippi
Mhm.
in
Yeah, I know the one.
North
I
America.
also forget the title, but I know the article you mean.
And it was just excellent and really kind of puts you in the mindset of like, hang on, we have really got no idea where we're about to go, but in hindsight, you can see the value that was created.
Mhm.
And equally, Ter de Meester wrote an excellent piece about the Reformation,
Mhm.
and they just really help you to go, well, hang on, so this is what's going on here,
Yeah.
and it really makes you think about, okay, those were times that if you were in those times, you wouldn't have realized how serious a situation it was. And you
Mhm.
suddenly you cover 30 years very, very quickly, which for us, we're not going to fast forward a whole lifetime of professional work and squeeze it into one article. But yeah, I just wonder, what was it that made you draw that link? And did you somehow know something about Venice, or like you were
I
just
don't
thinking
think
about?
it's I don't find the backstory here all that interesting, to be honest. I feel like you're maybe fishing for something that's a lot more revelatory than it actually was. Literally, the story is as follows: I went to Venice on holiday as a dumb tourist that ruins it for everybody else. And when I was there, the what's the best way to put this? Anyone who's been to Venice will know exactly what I mean. There's other places similar to this I've also been to. It's impossible to avoid the the history. It's
Mm,
incredibly well preserved, and it's if you do anything remotely touristy, and it's sort of like, why would you go if not to do that? You are overwhelmed with a sense of how old and how important it is, or it was. And so I did that. It was very nice. Uh, I came away thinking, I'm actually a little bit embarrassed. I don't know that much about this, especially having had the experience. Like, it's very different. It's very different being there and feeling it than just reading it in a book. And so I came away from it thinking, oh, I should actually know more about this. And so basically, I just bought a bunch of books about Venice, different books, books with different historical focuses about Venice. So some were more political, some were more economic. And the answer to your question is that in reading those, I found all these amusing connections and was like, I wonder if I can, I wonder if it's worth exploring these in writing. I think the answer is yes. But even at the time, it felt kind of, I don't know, silly in a way. But basically, the more I read about it, the more seriously I thought about it, the less silly it felt like it was. I do still think it's a little bit silly. I mean, I've said this a couple of times now, and again, we say it
well,
in
it's
the
just
article that
it's good
you
clickbait.
shouldn't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
It's not that there's some kind of profound connection here that we are insisting be understood better. It's more, I think, exactly as you say, it's that my ultimate goal, even just with writing the very first essay, never mind, not knowing that it would end up being a book and we'd end up having this much broader thesis, etc., is just to use how interesting Venice is, and I think how, maybe more importantly, how accessible it is. Right? It's. I don't think you're going to come across anyone who thinks that they don't possibly have the education to understand why Venice is important, but which is a very common thing with Bitcoin, by the way, to use that almost as an excuse. It's like, well, if you find this interesting, then I would suggest you should also find Bitcoin interesting. And
Yeah.
even with everything else that's in the article, like, we've only focused on basically the title, right? Because Bitcoin is Venice is one section in the essay, Bitcoin is Venice, where we make a bunch of other similar comparisons. I think the Venice one is kind of the most romantic, like the least to be taken literally. But the point is similar with every other analogy that we're making.
Mm.
It's just to
And
trick people into finding Bitcoin interesting. That's basically
well,
it.
and it works. I
Yeah,
think
yeah. It was like I said right at the start, it's clickbait.
the best memes have encapsulated within them deeper meaning, and that's
Mhm.
essentially what it is.